The night before, everything was fine. Fish were swimming, colors were vivid, water was clear. You woke up in the morning. It's lying on the bottom, not moving, and your water parameters are still normal. This is one of the biggest mysteries in fish keeping. A healthy fish that dies overnight while everything still looks normal. It's the scenario everyone experiences but can't explain. The one that makes people think their fish simply had its time. But in most cases, something happened. Today we're going to uncover 6 hidden causes that can kill a seemingly healthy fish overnight and leave almost no evidence behind by morning. Oxygen crash. The most common and least known cause on this list. During the day, everything looks normal. Because the lights are on, plants are photosynthesizing, producing oxygen. The fish breathe comfortably. When the lights go off, everything changes. Photosynthesis stops, but oxygen consumption doesn't. The plants are no longer producers, they're consumers. Every living thing in the tank, fish, plants, bacteria, fungi, is all drawing from the same limited oxygen pool, and that pool shrinks throughout the night. In tanks with dense plant growth, this drop can reach critical levels. In the hours between midnight and dawn, oxygen hits its lowest point, and fish quietly, invisibly disappear during those hours. By the time you wake up, it's already over. The fish is gone, the oxygen level has recovered, and you have no way of knowing what happened. Because oxygen test kits give instant readings, by the time you test in the morning, the lights are back on, the plants have started producing again, and the evidence that oxygen ever crashed is gone. The signs to watch for. Fish found near the surface or close to an air stone in the morning. Multiple fish dead on the same morning. It happens more often in summer. Warmer water holds less oxygen. The fix: additional aeration running through the night. That single step prevents the vast majority of losses from this cause. And it isn't expensive. A small air pump and an air stone is all it takes. Heater failure. This problem is both the most dramatic and the most insidious. Heater failures can go in 2 directions. The first is cooling. The heater stops working and the tank drops in temperature rapidly, especially on winter nights. For tropical fish, even a few degrees can be critical. The second, and far more dangerous, is overheating. If the heater's thermostat fails, it doesn't shut off, it just keeps running. The tank can climb to 95 to 104 degrees Fahrenheit within hours. At those temperatures, oxygen solubility drops dramatically and fish metabolism spirals out of control. By morning, the entire tank can be wiped out. Here's what makes this failure so insidious. Heaters tend to run more frequently in cold weather, which is actually when they're less likely to fail. But in summer, when the room is already warm, the heater barely needs to run. The thermostat keeps cutting it off. All that cycling wears the thermostat down and makes it most prone to failure. So the season with the highest failure risk is exactly the season you'd least expect it. The practical fix: monitor nighttime temperature regularly with a quality thermometer. Smart plugs and temperature alarms are widely available at very accessible price points. And replace your heater once a year. Cheap insurance against an expensive loss. You definitely won't see the next one coming. Chemical contamination. This is the cause that surprises people most, because it comes from somewhere completely unexpected. Room spray, insecticide, air freshener, window cleaner, oven cleaner, even heavy perfume. These chemicals enter the air, and that air comes into contact with the surface of your tank. The water surface exchanges gas constantly. Oxygen in, carbon dioxide out. That same process pulls these chemicals in too. Aerosol sprays are especially dangerous. Fine particles settle on the water surface and block gas exchange. Oxygen intake slows. The fish slowly suffocates, with no visible symptom. This cause is extremely difficult to diagnose because no standard test measures it. Ammonia 0, nitrite 0, pH normal. Everything looks fine, but the fish are dying. The tell? All the losses happen on the same night, and that day or evening, either a spray was used near the tank, or the room was painted, deep cleaned, or treated for pests. The fix? Don't use any sprays in a room that has a tank. If you have to, temporarily move the fish or seal the tank completely, lid and plastic wrap, and ventilate the room thoroughly after any cleaning. If this is the first time you're hearing information like this and you want to learn more for your aquarium, consider subscribing and liking the video. Hidden bacterial outbreak. This one can affect fish extremely fast, and while preventing it is difficult, catching it in time is nearly impossible. Columnaris and Aeromonas, two types of bacteria, both naturally present in aquarium water, harmless at low concentrations, but under certain conditions, they explode, and that explosion can happen within hours. A stressed fish is vulnerable to these bacteria. When the immune system weakens, the fish can no longer tolerate the bacterial load it normally handles without issue. The bacteria multiply rapidly, with no obvious outward sign. The fish looks normal during the day. At night, the immune system collapses. By morning, the fish is gone. There's one scenario where this is especially dangerous: the first week after adding a new fish. A fish from the pet store is already under stress. Long transport, crowded conditions, shifting water chemistry. That stress suppresses immunity. When it encounters the bacterial load in your tank, the combination can be lethal. And there's a domino effect. A dead fish decomposes rapidly. That decomposition produces toxic compounds and more bacteria. Other fish are affected. One loss can take others before the next night is even over. The fix: quarantine new fish. At minimum, 2 weeks. That single step prevents the majority of this scenario. And remove any dead fish from the tank immediately. Leaving it in starts the domino effect. The nitrogen cycle trap. New tank owners run into this most often, but it can hit experienced owners at unexpected moments too. Here's the scenario. The tank has been running for 2 weeks. Ammonia has dropped, close to zero. You think, the cycle is done. You add fish. Everything looks fine. On the third morning, the fish are gone. What happened? The nitrogen cycle runs in 2 stages. In the first stage, ammonia rises. Then nitrosomonas bacteria convert it to nitrite. Ammonia drops, but nitrite climbs. And nitrite is just as toxic as ammonia, even more so for some species. Ammonia dropped. The cycle is done, is the thinking that leads into this trap. But the cycle isn't done. It just moved into the second stage. And in that stage, nitrite is peaking. During the day, the fish appear normal. At night, nitrite toxicity crosses the critical threshold. By morning, there are losses. A version of this also shows up in established tanks. Cleaning the filter sponge can wipe out the bacterial colony. A long power outage can shut down the filter. Medication can crash the bacterial population. The cycle restarts, without the owner realizing it. The fix: always test both ammonia and nitrite. Ammonia dropping does not mean the cycle is complete. Nitrite also has to reach zero. When both are at zero at the same time, the cycle is done. A nighttime attack. The most dramatic cause on this list, and the least talked about. Some species are calm during the day and aggressive at night, or there's a nocturnal species in your tank and you don't know it. Large cichlids, Pictus catfish, large plecos. Some of these are significantly more active and territorial after dark. A fish that sits quietly in its corner all day can inflict serious damage on other fish overnight, and that damage accumulates until morning. This is hard to diagnose, because by morning the aggressive fish is back in its corner, calm as ever. The victim is either completely gone or severely injured. The signs: fin damage on the fish that died or survived, bite marks in specific areas, losses consistently coming from the same type, the smallest, slowest, most vulnerable ones. The fix: look at your tank at night with a dim red light. Fish can't see red light, but you can. That's the first time you'll see the actual nighttime dynamics. Most hobbyists have no idea what's happening in their tank after dark. You looked at the tank the night before. Everything seemed normal. But behind that normal, 6 different things can be hiding. Oxygen quietly depleting. A heater slowly losing control. Aerosol particles settled on the surface, waiting. Bacteria finding an opening in a stressed fish. Nitrite peaking. Or something attacking something else in the dark. All of it invisible during the day. All of it detonating at night. Now you know what to look for. Have you ever experienced one of these, or something completely different? Sometimes fish disappear entirely for a full day and you can't find them anywhere. I'll be covering that in the next video. And the reasons are genuinely fascinating. If you don't want to miss it, you know what to do. See you under the water.